Hello everyone, Charles Watts here, the Arsenal correspondent at Goal, joining you on Friday morning. I hope all is well. Getting ready for the weekend, and you're very, very happy with the big news that emerged yesterday. The confirmation finally arriving of Emile Smith Rowe signing that new contract. It had actually been signed for a while, but Arsenal announcing the news yesterday, which is fantastic news, puts an end to all the speculation. It was always only speculation, as I mentioned every time I spoke about it. There was never any chance that Emile Smith Rowe was going to be leaving Arsenal this summer. All those bids from Aston Villa were just, as I said, you know, fair play to Villa for trying, but they were never going to get him. There was only one way Emile Smith Rowe was going to be at Villa Park next season, and that was going to be in March when Arsenal travel there in the Premier League. And all that speculation has now been put to bed with him signing his new 5-year contract and getting the big number 10. Emile Smith Rowe, Arsenal's new number 10, following in the likes of Dennis Bergkamp, obviously Robert Van Persie, Mesut Ozil, William Gallas. Yeah, big move for Emile, big move for Arsenal, following on from Bukayo Saka last year. Very, very proud day for Hale End, and what an inspiration that is for all the youngsters at the moment, sort of coming through at Hale End, looking up to the first team all those years above them, and seeing Bukayo Saka with a number 7 shirt and Emile Smith Rowe with a number 10 shirt. It really is proof that if you work hard and you're good enough, that there is a clear pathway through to the first team at Arsenal from the academy, and that is something to be proud about. It's been pretty dark times at Arsenal for the last few years, but the academy, the work being done there, the players being produced is certainly the big bright point. And the fact that you've got two stars now from Hale End, a 19-year-old and a 20-year-old in the first team, with those sort of legendary numbers on the back of their shirt, is must be an absolute inspiration. You would imagine it's something all the coaching staff at Hale End will be pointing to all the youngsters currently coming through. Everyone understandably delighted. Yeah, here's what Mikel Arteta said about the news. Said, as we all saw last season, Emile was an intelligent player of excellent ability. His sharpness on the turn and exceptional vision have already made him a key player for us. His attitude, willingness to learn, also been very impressive. Huge credit to our team and our academy. Have given Emile a great education, have worked superbly to help with his development through the age groups. And that absolutely, as I said, the academy staff just deserve so much credit for the work they are doing there. Not just, you know, obviously Per Mertesacker, the academy manager now, all the coaching staff that are there, but there's coaching staff before them. Because when you look at Smith Rowe, Bukayo Saka, that was kind of done before the current management staff who are in at Hale End. You go back to the likes of Steve Morrow and that lot, who were working and sort of headed the recruitment there and bringing the best players in early. So everyone deserves an awful lot of credit. Arteta continues, says, I know the fans will join us in being delighted that Emile has committed his future to the club. We're now looking forward to helping him develop further and seeing him become even more important to the strong young team we are building. And he's absolutely right. And I mentioned it in the last video. You look at the sort of age profile of Arsenal's squad now, and it is, you know, it's very clear what is developing there and the type of players Arsenal are trying to go for, and the kind of project that Arteta and Edu are you know, certainly have in their minds. When you look at Saka, Smith Rowe, Martinelli, Tierney, new signings in Tavares and Lokonga, you know, there's others as well. They're all the sort of 23, 24 age group. Yes, you've got some experienced heads there as well with Lacazette and Aubameyang. You know, Pepe's mid-20s, and you look at other players they're targeting. You know, Aaron Ramsdale, 23. You know, they're very Tammy Abraham, perhaps, if they're, you know, Ben White, 23. They're all very young players, and it's a clear project that Arsenal are trying to work towards here, and it is a very young team that the squad, that the club are building, and that is clearly how they believe they've got a good chance of getting the success and getting back to competing against the clubs that they can't compete with financially. But maybe if they can build a young squad that can sort of develop together. Kind of back to the Arsene Wenger days, really, when Arsenal had no money, and that's the type of squads that he was building. Edu says, this is another important step for us, and we're all delighted that Emile has signed a new long-term contract. It's great to see another young player develop through our academy system to become a key part of the first team. Emile is a player who represents the future of the club, and this is why we have given him the number 10 shirt. We have trust in Emile, and we know he has the potential to be a beautiful player for many years to come. Now, I am absolutely, full well that I'm right at the front of the queue when it comes to the Emile Smith Rowe fan club. I was desperate to get him into the team before he came in on Boxing Day last year. I never understood why he wasn't really getting the opportunities, because he was the exact sort of player that Arsenal need. And I think his ceiling is so high. We've only literally scratched the surface when it comes to Emile Smith Rowe so far. There's so much more to come from his game. Definitely got plenty more goals to get. I think that's a big part of his game that we want to see improve this season, because he's got the ability to score plenty of goals. It didn't really happen. I mean, he got 7, I think, in all competitions last season, which isn't bad for your first season as a first-team regular. But he's got the ability to score miles more than that. He gets into the positions. He's shown when he was in the youth team coming through his quality in front of goal when he's a little bit calm. Maybe he's a little bit rash at times now, which happens when he's young. He's a bit young. He snatches at his chances rather than stays a little bit calm in front of goal, and that's something that's going to improve as he gets older and settles into the team more. And I'm just really excited to see how Smith Rowe develops over the next few years, because he's an absolute exceptional talent, and it's great news that he signed his new contract. And this is what he had to say himself about taking the number 10 shirt. Everyone knows that number 10 is a big shirt, and it's definitely a big position as well, so I'm buzzing. I can't wait to get on the pitch. It's really special. I can't explain the feeling when I found out the legends that have played here and worn that shirt is a bit too much for me right now, but I'm calmed down after a while. When I was younger, I used to watch Dennis Bergkamp. When I was coming through the academy, Mesut Ozil was obviously here as well. Getting the opportunity to train with him, play with him as well, was unbelievable. I just want to keep working hard, and hopefully I can play like them and replicate what they have done. Now, certainly if he goes on to replicate what Dennis Bergkamp has done, then that would be fantastic. And even Mesut Ozil as well. That would be absolutely fantastic. So great news about Emile Smith Rowe. Perfect way to go in to the weekend. And it's another one sort of ticked off the list for Arsenal of their busy to-do list this summer. So kind of following on from that, I just wanted to talk a little bit about Edu, who gets a lot of grief. And, I've given him a fair bit of grief before as well, Edu, and I'm still not utterly convinced by him. But credit where's credit's due, and I think he's done some very good work this summer, well, not just this summer, in the last year when it comes to contracts with Arsenal, and not just Edu as well. Richard Garlick's obviously involved now, and he's working alongside him as well on this side of thing. But Edu's kind of been leading negotiations for a while, and you look at the good work that he's done with getting players tied down. Smith Rowe, fantastic. Saka last year, superb. Got those. They were massive deals to get done, because Arsenal could not afford to lose these young players, and he's got them done. You've seen Arthur Okonkwo as well. Kiddo Taylor-Hart is very close. So they've done really good work in getting these youngsters, who it's so competitive now to keep these young players. Everyone's trying to get them. Everyone's trying to steal them off you. And Arsenal have done a very good job in getting them to extend their contracts. I think Edu deserves a lot of credit for that. We've got Kieran Tierney as well, who signed his new contract. So, fair play to Edu. I think he's done a lot of good work. He's got so much on his plate this summer in terms of transfers, in terms of trying to get players out of the club, in terms of trying to bring players in. He's brought a couple in. He's got a couple out, albeit only on loan. Apart from Mavropanos, that was a permanent deal, obviously. So I just think, credit where's credit's due. I think he's done some really good job in protecting the academy, protecting some of Arsenal's most important young players. And hopefully now he can really kick on with this one's out of the way, because he kind of feel like the contracts are kind of done and dusted now. Although I think that absolutely priority should be getting Bukayo Saka to sign a new contract. I know he only signed one last year, but that's a year ago now. We've seen what's happened in the space of that year. He's Arsenal's player of the season. He's an England international, England regular. It's only, he's not going to be long before there's lots of clubs banging the door down for Bukayo Saka, and I think Arsenal need to protect themselves a little bit more now. I think he's down to his 3 years left. You get to the end of this season, suddenly you're down to just that awkward 2 years left. I think absolutely should be a priority now. Give him what he's worth, because he's worth an awful lot of money now. Bukayo Saka, yes, he's young. Yes, he's only 19. But we've seen how good he is. We've seen, already he's basically one of the key players in the squad. He kind of needs to be rewarded. So I feel like that has to be a priority on Arsenal's list in the next few months, is entering back into the negotiations of Bukayo Saka and making sure that 3 years that he's got left on his contract is suddenly turned into 5 years, and Arsenal are far more protected. So in terms of transfers, I've not really much more to give you at the moment. I mean, there's lots of talk about Ramsdale. I mean, we know he's a goalkeeper that Arsenal are interested in. That's absolutely legit. I mean, I've seen talk about these bids, 2 bids being rejected by Sheffield United. I can't confirm if that's the case or not because I haven't heard it. I know that there's interest, but I'm not aware that bids have been made for Ramsdale at the moment. I think that's something we're going to see certainly accelerate as in the next couple of weeks, perhaps, with him after the Euros are over, and obviously he's back from his holiday. I mean, it's a tough one because you kind of look at Ramsdale on a whole and think, he's had back-to-back relegations, that's not great. He's conceded all these goals, that's not great. But then you also speak to people who know an awful lot about goalkeepers, and they seem to think he's very, very good. He's only 23. He's very well liked. And so it's like you kind of balance it in what you see with your eyes and then what you hear with people that you speak to about him. And people who know the game, who know goalkeepers, seem to think he's a very, very good goalkeeper who's only going to get better and better, and he's 23. I can't see Bernd Leno leaving this summer. So if he does come in, you would imagine the two of them will be competing for the #1 spot, because unless Arsenal very secretly got something agreed for Bernd Leno, then it's going to be they're going to have to do something very, very quickly if Ramsdale is to come in and be the absolute guaranteed #1, because I just can't see it. I haven't heard anything about Leno. There's no whispers about Bernd Leno going anywhere. So I feel like if Ramsdale does come in, he'll be competing, and it'll be a case of a big fight for the #1 jersey, and then potentially Leno might go next season when he gets down to the last year of his contract, something like that. Well, I mean, we'll have to wait and see on that. As I said, maybe Arsenal have got something lined up that they've kept well under wraps, that if they do get a breakthrough with Sheffield United and get something agreed for Ramsdale, then suddenly Leno will move on. But we'll have to wait and see on that. In terms of other transfers, I've said that the medical for Ben White, the hope is that that's going to happen next week at Arsenal. The deal's all been agreed between the clubs. The personal terms aren't an issue. It's just a case of getting the medical done after his holiday. The Arsenal are hoping that it's going to be next week, and that he will soon, once that's done, he will soon be confirmed as the third signing of the summer. And then the rest of them, Abraham, which I spoke about yesterday, gave my opinion on it in terms of what I thought about the potential move for Abraham. Ruben Neves, that hasn't really moved forward. There's still an awful lot of work to be done there. It's certainly White when it comes to next in line and how far things are down the line in terms of bringing in a new transfer. You've obviously had Tavares, you've had Lokonga, and then you're going to have White once he gets back from holiday, and then things are going to spiral. For me personally, I think Arsenal need to move some players on first now before you start really bringing in others. You talk about Tammy Abraham. I don't see how that happens without Lacazette leaving this summer. So if Arsenal generally do want to sign Abraham, I think you've got to move Lacazette on if you can, because I can't see how. You've got Balogun, who you want to give opportunities to this season. You've still got Martinelli, you've still got Nketiah, you've still got Lacazette, you've still got Aubameyang. You only play one central striker. How do you sign Abraham before one of those players goes? You look at the right-back situation. Again, it was an area that I've always told was a priority going into this summer, yet it's just been nothing about the right back. So I haven't heard any names. I haven't really seen any names mentioned anywhere, but I kind of feel like that won't happen until Bellerin goes. And we know that Inter Milan want Bellerin, but they haven't really got much money. And until there's a breakthrough in that, I don't see how Arsenal push forward with the right back. Again, with central midfield, you talk about Ruben Neves. Yes, Arsenal are interested in Ruben Neves. They're interested in others as well. We know all about Locatelli. But until that move to Roma for Granit Xhaka is done, Arsenal aren't really going to bring anyone in. So I feel like that's the next step in this. Get the White deal done, which, well, it is done, but get the medical sorted. And in the meantime, work very hard on getting somebody outgoing sorted, because you've got Ainsley Maitland-Niles. You've got to sort out the Joe Willock situation one way or the other. You've got Granit Xhaka, as I said, Hector Bellerin. You need to move those players on if you want to really bring others in. And Arsenal absolutely do want to bring others in. And I expect we will see, you think certainly 2, potentially more signings before the end of the window at the end of August. But there's a bit of a logjam at the moment because of the size of Arsenal's squad and the players they're trying to get out that they can't get out. I mean, Sia Kolasinac is another one. There's so much work for Eddie to do. So while I gave him a little bit of a pat on the back in terms of the contracts and the work he's done there, he certainly needs to keep on rolling between now and the end of August, because he's got to be a very, very busy man to sort out everything that needs to be sorted out in this Arsenal squad. Right, just before I go, in terms of pre-season, I'm expecting there will be a friendly over the weekend, but I haven't heard any names yet in terms of who that potentially is. Arsenal have been working hard to secure 2 friendlies, one at the weekend, one in midweek next week, to make up for the games that have been cancelled because they haven't been able to go to the Florida Cup. If I hear anything, then keep your eyes peeled on my social media. I will report anything if I do hear it. But I do expect something will happen this weekend, just kind of because it needs to. Whether it ends up being even an in-house friendly, played at a proper intensity, it might be the case. But Arsenal, like I said, they have been working in the last few days to try and secure a couple of opposition from outside the club to play in these pre-season friendlies. And then still the Mind Series games, which start against Chelsea the following week, they are still on as planned. All right, everyone, thank you very much for watching today's video. I'll probably get one more in maybe on Sunday over the weekend, and then I'm off for a week, heading down to Devon with the family, so there's going to be nothing from me after the weekend, but I will try and get at least one more in on Sunday. Until then, everyone, have a good day. I'll speak to you soon.